Hello and welcome to Artist Express. Our guest today is Alan Jilka, a lifelong Salina resident who has strayed from town a few times, but is very much with us and very much involved in the musical life of Salina. Alan, can you just give us a brief overview of some of the activities that you are involved in with music?
Okay. Singing church choirs, of course, and I've sang in the Salina chorale since about the year 2000 or so. I've sang in the Messiah chorus at Bethany just about every year since about 1996.
Wow, good.
And then I played the guitar here and there.
Okay, and so when you say here and there, do you have a regular group that you meet with to play together, or pick up bands, or what?
No, I'm mainly a solo acoustic guitar player.
Okay, and how did you learn that skill?
Well, I started, my mom was one of these folks that sat her kids down at the piano when they were real young. So I started playing piano at about 5, and then I stopped playing about 14, and then a year or two later I picked up the guitar and I went to Steve Hansen.
Great.
And I've kind of played the guitar ever since.
Yeah, both my boys studied with Steve.
I joke that you can't pick up a piano and take it with you anywhere, but
right.
You can play the, I think Mom's still disappointed that I didn't stick with the piano, but Mom, you can't pack it up and take it with you.
Exactly, but it's wonderful background.
Yeah.
I even, one of my sons played piano starting when he was 8, and I decided to take a few lessons from his instructor, simply because, who was Tim Lavery, who played with Jazz Tangent. And I would never be able to perform in public, but I wanted to know how music worked, because it seems like a miracle to me that those 8 notes can turn into all that they are in so many different forms. And so I took lessons for a couple of years with Tim just to see what the system is and the...
Yeah, piano does give you the building blocks for everything. Learn how to read music. When I was arguing with my mom about practice time when I was young, she promised me that I would thank her later in life, and she was right.
Yes, yeah, one of those times when you just have to admit it. Well, you know, when you said you have sung with the Salina Chorale since about 2000, that sounds very recent. But you know, that's 20 years ago, and then you have been involved with the Messiah even longer. How would you characterize your music involvement as a percentage of your life that has, you know, proportionately has influenced the way you approach life?
Well, it's hard to put a percentage on it, but I can think of a particular instance. I took beginning Spanish my senior year in college and struggled mightily through it, and then at some point they started taking us to a language lab, where we'd put on these earphones and try to understand what people are saying.
Immersion, I think they call that.
Well, and well, anyway, all of a sudden one day at the end of the lesson, they kind of switched gears a little bit and played a song called Guantanamera. There's a single guitar player and singing Guantanamera.
I remember that song.
And I thought that was really cool. And kind of changed my whole attitude about learning language. And so when I later in life lived in first Mexico and I lived in Brazil, learning the music of the country was kind of intertwined with learning the language. And, you know, I love Mexican music. I love Brazilian music of all types: samba, pagode, bossa nova. And so it was kind of an integral part of my language learning process. So I guess it's just kind of an important part of me.
It did have a strong influence then.
Yeah, yeah.
And did you take music classes in high school and college?
Played in a band. I didn't when I started. I actually started singing. It would have been my second semester, my sophomore year of college.
Mm-hmm.
Had a friend sophomore year who was a vocal music major, and I got to thinking about doing something along those lines, and he told me about a non-audition group that I could join, and kind of liked it. And so I transferred to Notre Dame for my junior year, and I was just looking for a group to join, you know, something to, when you come in the middle of a...
Right.
And somebody told me, well, there's a glee club here, and they're having tryouts right now, and I still remember there were 53 people tried out for 19 slots, and I snagged one of them somehow.
Good for you.
And I'm sure the piano background, the fact I could sight read music and everything,
Yes.
I'm sure played a bigger role in my getting one of those spots than my singing.
Well, one never knows,
time.
but the ability to sight read is certainly welcomed by any choral director, you know, when you're learning new music. And you mentioned church choirs. You know, you got a week, usually. I sang in church choir from 5th grade on in my hometown. And, you know, the bulk of the practice is the Wednesday before the Sunday. So I don't know if that's been your experience. Talk a little bit, now you have been active in civic government and so forth in Salina. You've been, had access to the entire Salina community for a long, long time. Talk a little bit about how you view artistic opportunity in Salina as compared to other places you may have visited or lived in briefly or whatever.
Well, I certainly think there's a tremendous scope of opportunity in this town, considering the size, relatively small size of the town. And obviously, in my case, I've been a little more focused on music, just because that's me.
What you do. Yeah.
But you know, other artistic opportunities, the community theater really has a distinguished history in this community, and you know, Charles Kephart for a long time, and then Mike Spicer came along, and he's just been phenomenal for the community. I could run on about him. I'm a huge fan of his. The Stiefel Theater has been another entry into the music world. Something I was involved in, restoring that theater when I was on the city commission. Something that I certainly look back on that with a lot of pride, and something that's just been great for the community. Some of the artists we've had in town, you know, B.B. King, you know, where to start. B.B. King sticks out in my mind because they went on sale, the tickets, and most of them were like $100 a piece. And even myself, I thought, gotta be kidding. Well, they sold the place out.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
And that's happened for a number of artists. So, now it sounds as if you have a strong affinity for B.B. King. What other musical artists have influenced you?
You know, my favorite Brazilian music. My favorite singer-songwriter is a Brazilian guy named Djavan. He's about 70 years old now. He was born in a northeastern Brazilian town called Maceió, which is the capital of Alagoas in Brazil. And he taught himself to play guitar on the street and moved to Rio de Janeiro when he was in his early 20s, and has made a huge career. When I lived in Brazil, I saw him 3 times in concert. Once on Ipanema Beach. The first time I saw him in concert, I hung around backstage for about an hour afterwards, and I got through several levels of security and got into his dressing room to meet him.
Great.
Which is a highlight. Bossa Nova music, certainly. You know, there's always the classical, you know, even people that aren't into, quote unquote, into classical music, everybody loves Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Sure. Had some neat singing experiences in Bach. So quite eclectic. When I lived in Brazil, this pagode music is a popular type of samba that comes from Africa, and it's, the main instrument's the ukulele. Oh. So I actually learned how to play a little bit of ukulele, and when I lived in Brazil, I have about a 4-song repertoire of pagode music. So I'm pretty eclectic in that regard.
Do you still try new things, or have you kind of settled onto a favorite way to play and kind of stick to that?
No, I still kind of, if you go to one of my guitar shows, I throw in a lot of everything, of everything.
Great. Well, that makes it interesting.
And you can get away, like say you play in a bar around somewhere in Kansas, you can get away with singing one Brazilian song in Portuguese, and everybody's like, it's neat. And if you go to the second one, they're kind of like, come on.
Yeah, variety is good, in other words, And everybody agrees to that. Where might people in Salina go to see you? Do you play regularly here?
And it's been more semi-regularly.
Okay.
My biggest musical in recent years, I've taken to singing for funerals, a few weddings. Guitar-wise, I get invited every now and then. Last year I played for the KIPP High School reunion.
I love it. That's great.
Which was a neat gig.
A solo gig?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
It was after dinner entertainment for 20, 30 minutes.
And you enjoyed that?
I loved it.
Good.
And then I played at the Sandstone Saloon.
I love that place. Yeah.
Played at a few bars in Salina that have come and gone over the years.
Yes.
Once in a while, I like going to the open mic nights down at Ad Astra. I'm hopeful those will be returning soon. Right.
And you know, the reason I'm asking where people might see you, I don't think I have ever seen it in the newspaper when you're playing somewhere.
Yeah, I played years ago. I played a few times in the pit orchestra for the community theater.
Okay.
Played guitar.
Right. I hope that some of these opportunities are publicized more. So, you know, getting a central clearinghouse to make sure people know when folks are performing.
Yeah, and even though you're giving me a great opportunity, I don't want to over-promote myself. I've known better than quit my day job.
A lot of artists are in that, yeah.
A lot of fun.
Well, that's great. And I am curious, too, one thing that occurred to me when you were speaking earlier, do you ever play and sing together?
Oh, yeah, with the guitar.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you, I have one son who has always done that, and the other one said, I just never could figure out how to play and sing at the same time. And it's something you have to work at. It's
certainly more difficult. Now, I remember Steve Hansen, one of the many things he told me over the years, that the guitar has got to be like the radio. It's just there, it's automatic, and then you add the vocal
Then you add that other, it's like patting your tummy and rubbing your head or whatever. Yeah. Well, it's been great to hear from you and to know that Salina has nurtured your talent through the years and given you an opportunity to play. Thank you very much for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Been a pleasure.